I've got the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Tim Stevens. He is one of the minds behind RoadShow and the MC of the Auto Mobility Show here in Los Angeles. Tim, this has been a very interesting show in that we're seeing that convergence between the automotive world and the technology world. One of the things has been this $250 million investment that Intel just made to get their share of 4 terabytes of data that will be coming out of automated cars every day. Tell me a little bit about that. What kind of data will they be getting, and where does Intel see the competitive advantage?
Right. Brian Krzanich, the CEO of Intel, yesterday told us of 4 terabytes of data every day from an autonomous car. That's what they're estimating these cars will be generating in 2020 when they're on the roads. We're talking about data from laser scanners, from radar scanners, sonar scanners. These cars are reading the road around them as they go, and these scanners are so good. Ford actually issued a release earlier this year that they can actually count the snowflakes in the snow from these autonomous cars when they're driving around in inclement weather. That's incredible resolution, and all that data is going to get filtered through. And so what Intel really wants to do is basically create systems that can process that incredible volume of data and do it, in real time, because you've got to be monitoring all these situations in real time and making smart decisions about what these cars can do. Make sure that they are in the right place in the lane, making sure that they're making smart decisions when unexpected things occur. And so there's a lot of processing power involved. We've seen NVIDIA making big investments and making really big strides already, getting ahead of things there, and Intel may be lagging a little bit behind. So I think this is what Intel's trying to do, is say that we're a player in this space, or we want to be a player in this space. Maybe we missed the ARM ship a little bit now, but we want to make sure that we're ahead of the game when it comes to the autonomous car wave, which is coming real soon.
I think the important part of that story, though, is that it's not just autonomous computing. I mean, people are saying, well, this is Intel's way of getting into the game. It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. They want to make sure that Intel is a player in automated vehicles. But there are other people who are saying, wait a minute, the amount of data that's going to be coming off these cars, we're talking about imagery, we're talking about mapping points, we're talking about road conditions. If Intel does this right, this becomes a big data source for way more than just cars. It can be everything from mapping to social congregation points to trying to figure out where in the world we need new infrastructure.
Right, and a lot of that comes down to vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-infrastructure connectivity, V2V and V2X, we call it. And that's basically the ability to transmit that data up to the cloud and then to other vehicles and to the infrastructures within cities and within areas. So basically these cars can know what's going on. So if you're driving down a road and your car picks up a little bit of wheel slip, for example, from a piece of ice, or the suspension moves because of a pothole, or if indeed your laser scanner picks up a tree that fell on the road, that you can then communicate that data back to the cars who are miles behind you, way out of the line of sight, so that they know what to do. They can either take evasive action and not hit that pothole, or indeed get off the highway and route you around that tree that just fell across the lane. That's the ultimate goal of a lot of this data. But there's also the privacy concern, because now these cars are going to know exactly, like, to the millimeter where you are at any given time. And so a lot of people are a little bit concerned about what that means for their private security. We're already seeing that you have to opt into services to use them in your cars. A lot of these infotainment systems are sharing a lot of information up with the cloud, and that's got some people concerned. That's only going to get to be more and more of a concern as these cars get smarter and smarter about what you're doing and where you're going.
1984, yeah, right, that's a typo. Orwell's Here and Large, Living Now. Sorry, I just had to throw that in. It's a hacker's reference. Let's move on to something a little more, mainstream, and that is finance. We've seen something over the last year that for some people is very troubling, and for other people it's very exciting, and that is the introduction of the Silicon Valley-style VC, venture capital, into the automotive industry. We've seen it happen again and again, where you can take a small player that has 1, 2, 3 good ideas and make them a major force in the automotive industry by backing them with VC cash. Tell me, what are the two sides here? What the people who are afraid, what are they afraid of? And the people who are excited, what excites them?
Well, it's interesting because we're seeing the typical Silicon Valley industry kind of getting flat lately. And a lot of the startups we've seen that have been getting millions and millions of dollars in the past are struggling to get that data or that money. But now that money is moving into the automotive world, like you said. So on the positive side of things, there is a lot of creativity out there and a lot of innovation that's happening. And it's happening not necessarily within these major auto manufacturers. These major auto manufacturers, are very good at doing what they've been doing for decades now, but they really need to be thinking differently. And so if you are a creative individual and you don't necessarily want to move to Detroit, or you don't necessarily want to get involved in the existing development paradigms that we have right now, you come up with a great idea, you work with a VC. And we've seen a lot of major acquisitions by bigger car companies to pull that technology and that innovation into their companies. If anything, just as a good marketing message, hey, this is a really cool idea. We want it to be part of our cars. You're also seeing innovation from companies like Comma AI. George Hotz doing some interesting things to bring new technology to older cars as well. And that's definitely going to be a big thing because not everybody wants to go out and buy a new car to get the latest technology. Unfortunately, Comma AI seems to have rather spectacularly imploded, but the idea is still sound anyhow, the idea that you can bring that technology to your car. But of course, on the concern side of things, I mean, it's always a lot of pressure to innovate, to raise funds, and then there's a lot of pressure involved in actually bringing that to market. And I think the main concern there is bringing things to market more quickly than they might be ready. You know, we're talking about the safety of individuals as you're driving, and if you plug something into your car that makes it quote-unquote smart, but it's not smart enough to avoid other cars on the road, you're not just risking yourself, you're risking everybody else, and that is a major concern. That's much different than buying a new gadget or widget on Indiegogo or something like that. If that blows up in your pocket, well, you might get a little skin burns. But if your car crashes into somebody else, that's a bigger concern.